Yesterday, we gave you sleepers. This time, we have busts. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express, and welcome to February. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Let's get into our busts 1.0, and up first for you, Scott, Jacob deGrom, who is being drafted inside the top 15 starting pitchers.
Ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous of all the picks being made, and it needs to stop. That's like round 5 for Jacob deGrom. I might take him in round 10. That's how far apart we are here. And I think it's just ridiculous. Okay, let's assume Jacob deGrom is totally fine. 37-year-old coming back from Tommy John surgery. He made a handful of starts last season, looked okay. So let's just assume that he'll be good when he starts. He's not going to start much. He hasn't thrown even 100 innings in a season since 2019. And though in the past, I've made the argument for the often injured pitcher to finally stay healthy, I can't make it for deGrom because what else happened after 2019? His average velocity went up by like 2 miles per hour. He started throwing harder. He didn't need to, but he started throwing harder. And I think time has shown that his body just can't hold up to that velocity because it's been nothing but elbow and shoulder problems since then. This isn't Chris Sale falling off his bike and breaking his wrist. It's consistent elbow and shoulder problems once deGrom reaches a certain innings threshold, and I have no reason to think it won't continue.
You mentioned the name there, Scott. Chris Sale is a pick for me, a bust pick this upcoming season. I think last year was the time to draft him when his ADP was outside the top 130. Obviously, if you did draft him, you profited in a major way. He won the Cy Young Award. He was amazing. Now, this year, you have to pay up. The ADP is 33.8. Chris Sale is the 7th starting pitcher off the board, and he actually ended the season hurt with a back injury. If you look at his fastball velocity, he averaged almost 95 on the season. In 3 of his last 4 starts, Chris Sale averaged below 94 on that fastball, including 92.7 in his final start of the season. I'm going to take their word that it was a back injury. I just hope it wasn't anything more than that. Chris Sale has a long, extensive injury history, things that have happened to his arms over the years. So, the having to use a top 40, top 50 pick on Chris Sale, just not going to be for me this year. Scott, back over to you. Mark Vientos, who for some is a popular breakout pick, for you, a bust.
Yeah, well, I mean, the breakout seemed like it happened last year, and I'm afraid it's not sustainable because what earned him a place in the Mets lineup was a reduction in strikeout rate, got it to 22% through June 30th. And that had always been what had held Vientos back, too many strikeouts. Well, from July 1st on, 33% was the strikeout rate. So he pretty much lost all those gains. He still managed to hit 256 during that time, which is obviously not bad for the power he delivers. But that was backed by a 333 BABIP, which is going to be difficult to sustain. The sort of players who can overcome a 33% strikeout rate are big sluggers. So Vientos has a chance, but I feel like his cost doesn't account for the bottom out risk that exists here. His batting average could potentially crater with the strikeout rate that high.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this.
Gives it to Jenkins for the championship. A 16 beats a 1. From sweet to elite to the Final Four.
Welcome back in. Continuing on with our Busts 1.0, I am going to talk about Willy Adames. The ADP this offseason is 64.6, the 10th shortstop off the board, coming off a career year last year, 251, 32 home runs, 112 RBI, 21 steals, an awesome season, no doubt. Top 20 overall player in Roto. He was the 14th best hitter in head-to-head points leagues, was Willy Adames. But got fortunate with some things. I mean, the home runs with runners on base, 13 3-run homers for Willy Adames. That tied Ken Griffey Jr. for the most in a single season. And the park shift going from American Family Field over to the Giants. On top of that, the lineup shift. It's a worse lineup. and the Giants don't run as much as the Brewers did last season as well. So I just think all around the numbers are expected to take a little bit of a step back. Maybe it's a 230, 240 hitter, 25-ish home runs, 10 steals. That's an okay player. Probably not someone you should be drafting inside the top 75 picks. I will be staying away from Willy Adames. Scott, back over to you. His former teammate, Bryce Turang, is somebody that you're fading.
Yeah, this one's pretty simple. Bryce Turang hit 292 over the first 3 months. He hit 214 over the final 3 months. The underlying data supports more the 214 hitting version. And by the way, Bryce Turang, his rookie season 2023, hit 218. So the track record supports it more too. I think he could turn out to be pretty useless this year if he picks up where he left off last year in the second half. And the Brewers have a lot of infield alternatives.
I'm going to talk about a closer, Robert Suarez, and I realize kind of a cop-out pick because really any closer can bust. There's so much volatility year over year. But Robert Suarez, coming off an awesome season, 36 saves, the fourth most in baseball. Don't love the fact that he doesn't miss a ton of bats, 23% strikeout rate, 8.2 K per nine, extremely fastball reliant through that four seam, 71% of the time for Robert Suarez, and maybe became a little bit too predictable. He took a step back in the second half. ERA was over 4, a 124 whip. Strikeouts went down. The walks went up for Robert Suarez. And the Padres have entertained trading him this offseason. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but maybe they're looking to sell high. The Padres also have other very talented relievers in Jason Adam and Jeremiah Estrada. So I worry about the second half. I worry about if he's traded, is he still the closer on whatever team he gets traded to? So a little bit too much risk taking Robert Suarez as a top 12 closer for me. I will be going in another direction. Scott, back to you, and I will let you decide your last one. Want to talk about Kerry Carpenter or Ryan Pepiot?
Let's talk about Pepiot. For Carpenter, by the way, it's just that he's never going to play against left-handers. Pepiot is a fly ball pitcher. In fact, among pitchers with at least 130 innings last year, he had the 10th highest fly ball rate. He got away with it pitching half his games at Tropicana Field, but I think George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, the spring training facility where the Rays are forced to play this year, is going to be a different story because it has the same dimensions as Yankee Stadium, which you probably know, very favorable home run park for left-handed hitters. And by the way, it'll probably play as even more homer friendly than that because it's in the Florida humidity where those humidified baseballs just slice through the air. And I think you look at Pepiot's xFIP last year, it was over 4. xFIP is the one that really accounts for fly ball rate the most. I think with where he's going to be playing his home games, his ERA is going to resemble that xFIP. Too many fly balls in a park that is murder for them.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.